Power Grid by Friedemann Friese. This is one of the quintessential classic Euro games that's come out in the past 10 years or so, and it's had since then a lot of releases of expansions and maps and things like that. But the original is just as good today as it was then, and you might still be seeing this played at many conventions. Power Grid is essentially about creating power on various factories to produce power and electricity across the grid of the United States or Germany. That's the two-sided double map that you'll get in the base game. Obviously, you can get a different map at the other expansions. To obtain your factories, there's rounds of auctions to try to pay for, the different kinds of factories which produce at different rates and different amounts of power and what kinds of resource that it uses. There is a definite supply and demand situation going on in Power Grid where, of course, the more available of a specific type of resource or energy, requirement, the cheaper it is, and then as it gets purchased, it becomes more expensive. So the different kinds of resources that you'll find needing for factories would be oil, coal, garbage, and nuclear. So depending on the kind of factory it is, the resources are scarce and the prices become high. So your money is very tight. It's definitely all about making sure that you're on top of your finances as you're, paying enough or saving enough money on the factories, because those are auctioned, to save enough money to get the resources that you need to actually power the cities that you're in. Now, of course, there's also expansion. So how do you expand from one city to the next? Well, it costs you money, and you got to put out more of your factory houses, which are little wooden pieces that go on the board. So eventually you start seeing these networks splayed out. Some cities, only have certain number of, people or players that can occupy it. But of course, first come, first serve when it comes to cost. So this is very mathy if you like looking at, numbers and figuring out the most efficient way to do something. Power Grid is probably the best at doing that. Power Grid is definitely one of those games that you're going to be taking a lot of time to think through your turn and figure out the best plan and make sure that you don't mess up with how much money that you have, because money is very tight in this game. It can be a lot of fun, and especially with the auctions, if you like games where you have to bid against other players and try to see if you can raise the price for them to buy something, this is where you can do that in this game. Now, the supply and demand, it's definitely one of the great games that uses that feature pretty heavily to make sure that you get the maximum amount of energy that you can generate. It's about 2 hours to play, maybe more, depending on player count. It plays 2 to 6 players, recommended ages 13 and up, probably because of the amount of addition and subtraction that you have to kind of do continually in the game, and make sure that you keep your money in check. But it's not, it's really fun. I really enjoy it. It's great to get to the table, especially with people who like Euro games where you're kind of doing a little bit of your own thing and then you kind of mess people up by getting somewhere first or auctioning for things first. But this is one of those classic Euros that you'll see, so definitely check it out. That's why it's my recommendation today on Off the Shelf, Power Grid by Friedemann Friese.